That's you stepping into who you were always meant to be. Someone who doesn't wait for motivation. Someone who creates momentum. Someone who doesn't need perfect conditions to show up with purpose. Because here's the secret. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to act like someone who respects themselves, someone who's done watching their life pass by. And when you do that, when you rise with that fire, even on the days you feel empty, you start to change the entire direction of your life. To begin to trust yourself again. And that trust is everything. It's the foundation of confidence, clarity, and courage. And courage, without it, no amount of success will satisfy you. But with it, even the hardest days become meaningful. This is your life, not a rehearsal, not a test run. Every morning is a chance to write a new chapter. To build momentum, to speak power into your day before the world has a chance to take it from you. The world will always try. It will pull at your time, your energy, and your attention. But if you claim your morning, you claim your power. When you lead yourself first, the rest of life starts to follow. So ask yourself again, how are you waking up? What are you saying to yourself in that first minute? Are you feeding for yourself in that first minute? Are you fading fire? Are you hiding? Are you drifting or deciding? Because every morning you have that choice and no one can make it for you. You don't need permission. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to show up, not for perfection. And that's what winning the morning is really about. It's not about doing more. It's about being more present, more powerful, more intentional. You can start slow, you can start small, but you must start. Because the longer you wait, the more you lose. Not time, not opportunities, but belief. And once belief is gone, everything becomes harder. But when belief returns, even the impossible becomes possible. This moment, this day, this life, it's still yours. It always has been. And the door back to it is wide open every single morning. You just have to walk through it. The reason most people stay stuck isn't because they're lazy or unmotivated. It's because they're trapped in a cycle of waking up already defeated. They open their eyes and the first feeling isn't purpose, it's pressure. The weight of everything they haven't done, the anxiety of what's waiting, oh, the quiet shame of knowing they've let too many mornings slip through their fingers. That feeling doesn't just affect the start of the day, it affects the entire day. And over time, it becomes normal. That heaviness becomes familiar, but familiar doesn't mean right. And just because something has been your pattern doesn't mean it has to be your future. When your first thoughts in the morning are shaped by fear, hesitation, or frustration, your brain starts filtering the whole day through that. Filtering your morning not with direction, but with dread. Not with action, but avoidance. The longer you stay in that mindset, the harder it becomes to break free. And the worst part, you start to believe it's just who you are. But it's not who you are, it's just a loop you've never been taught to interrupt.
Hmm.
You've been conditioned to survive mornings, not to mess with them. And the cost of that is far greater than most people realize. The way you wake up doesn't just affect your energy, it shapes your identity. If the first decision you make each day is to delay, to scroll, to hide, then your mind learns to expect that from you. But if the first thing you do is act, if you move, breathe, stretch, speak with intention, your mind learns something completely different. It learns that you are someone who leads, to move, someone who moves forward, someone who doesn't shrink at the sound of the alarm, but realizes to meet it with purpose. That belief, built one morning at a time, is what separates the people who create their lives from the ones who endure them. There's a reason the start of anything matters. Whether it's a race, a song, a conversation, how you begin shapes everything that follows. Your day is no different. If you start in alignment, you create a flow that's hard to break. But if you start in chaos, it becomes a battle just to keep up. And the truth is, most people don't lose the day in the afternoon. They lose it in those first few moments when they give in to weakness, when they surrender to comfort instead of standing on their power. And once that choice is made, the day follows its lead. But here's the power you have that no one can take away. You get to decide how you begin. You get to decide whether you wake up in defeat or indecision, whether you stumble out of bed or rise with clarity. That decision doesn't just set the tone for your morning. It sets the tone for yourself. Because every time you follow through, even in something as simple as waking up with purpose, you send a message to your own soul. I'm someone who shows up. I'm someone who leads themselves. I'm someone who takes their life seriously. If you can win that first moment, everything else becomes easier. Not because life suddenly gets soft, but because you get stronger. You start the day with proof. Proof that you're capable, proof that you're disciplined, proof that you're not here to drift. You're here to dominate. That energy carries. It shows up in your choices, in your words, and how you treat others and how you carry yourself. It's not about perfection. It's about perfection. It's about power, the kind of alignment that comes from doing what you said you do. Most people wait for motivation, but the truth is motivation comes from motion. It comes from action. And the very first action you take every morning is the ignition. It sparks the fire or snuffs it out. So if you're waiting to feel ready, you'll lose that spark again and again. But if you move, if you act in the face, you create your own readiness. You stop being a prisoner to your mood and to your mood and become the architect of your momentum. And what's waiting on the other side of that first win is more than just a better morning. It's a better life. One that's not ruled by reaction, but led by bed. One where you don't wake up hoping things will get better. You wake up making them better. You create that kind of life one morning at a time. One choice at a time, one breath of discipline at a time. And that's the kind of power no one can give you because it only comes when you give it to yourself. So as you move into tomorrow, don't just wake up. Rise. Don't just get out of bed. Decide that your life is worth more than drifting. Decide that your time is worth more than delay. Decide that you are worth more than starting the day already behind because you are, and that's truth. It's waiting for you at the edge of your first decision, waiting for you to reach out and claim it. You were not born to wake up tired, drag yourself through the day, and fall asleep feeling like you didn't really live. That's not your death, not your death, not your death, not your truth. That's a pattern when you may have been stuck in for too long, but one that can be broken. And the place to break it is not some distant future. It's not after everything calms down. It's not when life gets easy. And it's in that moment you must choose, rise or retreat. When you delay your day, you're not just postponing tasks. You're postponing your power. Every time you hesitate, your brain learns to question you. Every time you ignore that voice pushing you to move, to grow, to rise, you weaken the trust between who you are and who you want to become. That hesitation doesn't just cost you time, it costs you belief. And once belief begins to slip, everything that depends on it starts to unravel. Confidence, courage, clarity. That's why the first choice of your day is the most important one you'll make. Not because it's dramatic, but because foundational. It builds the lens through which everything else will be seen. The truth is, the world will always pull at you. There will always be noise, always be distraction, always be reasons to wait, reasons to stay comfortable. But none of those things will ever lead you to the life you want. Comfort doesn't create change. Waiting doesn't build momentum. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens on purpose. It happens when you decide to step forward in the smallest, most personal moment of the moment you choose not to delay your own greatness. That's the real battle. Not against the clock, not against the world, against the part of you that wants to stay hidden. You already know what happens when you let that part win. You felt the regret, the frustration, the quiet inner voice that whispers, "Oh, you said this time would be different. That's not weakness. That's a wake up call. That's the deepest part of you trying to remind you who you really are. And who you really are is not someone who quits on themselves, not someone who settles for less. You are someone who's capable of less. You are someone who's capable of rising, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because that's where real pride lives. Not in ease, but in effort. Not in effort, but in commitment. There's something unshakable about starting your day with intention. You create a mental edge, a quiet strength, a sense of alignment that makes the chaos of life easier to handle. Not because everything outside changes, but because you do. You stop reacting, you stop absorbing, you start directing. You become the one who sets the tone, not the one who absorbs it. And when that becomes your pattern, life begins to shift. You stop waiting for change and start being the change. You stop needing permission and start giving yourself purpose. Doesn't take play for hours. It just takes one honest decision. To honor it, to honor your daily dreams, to shape it for you. That's where your identity takes root. Not in what you promise yourself the night before, but in what you choose when it's hard, when it's early, When no one's watching, that's where discipline is born. And discipline isn't a punishment, it's a declaration. It says, I refuse to live on action. You've spent enough time watching your potential pass you by, enough time wondering where your energy went, enough time blaming everything outside of you. The truth is, everything you need is already inside you, inside you, inside you. So it's just waiting to be activated. It's activated the moment you say, enough drifting, enough delay, enough starting over every Monday. The life you want is not waiting for the perfect mood. It's waiting for a decision. A single, unshakable decision to start different, to start different, to start now. Every time you wake up and choose intention over impulse, you train your mind to believe in you. You build internal proof. That proof becomes confidence. That confidence becomes momentum. And momentum changes everything. You go from hoping to happening, from someday to now, from maybe to absolutely. And you learn that not through hype, but through action. Simple, real, quiet action that starts the minute your alarm goes off and you decide to rise, not retreat. So tomorrow when you open your eyes, don't think. Don't negotiate. Don't delay. Move. Sit up. Breathe. Remind yourself, this is my time. This is my hour. This is where I take it back. And even if it's hard, even if you don't feel like it, do it anyway, though, because every time you do, you get stronger. Every time you do, the voice of doubt gets quieter. And every time you do, the future you've been dreaming of moves closer. Not by chance, but by choice. That first movement in the morning is more than just getting out of bed. It's a message to your body, your mind, your future. It says, I choose strength. I choose strength. I choose direction. I choose to stop negotiating with doubt and start negotiating with greatness. Because greatness doesn't come to those who wait for perfect conditions. It comes to those who act in imperfect ones. When you move your body, even just for a few moments, you break through the fog that holds so many people back. That fog of hesitation, of mental noise, of emotional resistance. It disappears the second you create motion. Because motion is not just physical, it's psychological, it's transformational. The body leads the mind, always. When you move, you send signals to your brain that you are alive, alert, and ready. You shift your emotional state without saying a word. You don't need to talk yourself into confidence when your body is already expressing it, expressing it. You don't need to beg for clarity when your blood is flowing, your lungs are full, and your muscles are awake. There's a primal intelligence inside of you that activates when you stop being still and start becoming intentional. That's why the morning matters, not because of what's happening outside, but because of what's waking up inside. Even a small movement done with purpose can spark something unstoppable. You don't need to run a marathon. You don't need to crush a workout. You just need to move with meaning. Stand tall, stretch with intention, take 3 deep, powerful breaths, and remind your system that you are not here to coast. You are here to conquer. And conquering doesn't begin with noise or hype. It begins with alignment, with waking up in alignment, with waking up and aligning your actions to your ambition, with proving to yourself that you are not waiting on motivation. You are building it from the inside out. That movement it becomes momentum. It breaks the inertia that traps most people in their excuses. It clears space for clarity, for energy, for focus. Most importantly, it gives you evidence. Evidence that you are showing up. Evidence that you are already doing something different than the version of you that stayed stuck. That version of you that kept delaying, avoiding, surviving. It's such a script when you stand up and move forward, no matter how small that step is. And the more you move, the less power your past is over you. Every single day you are reinforcing your limitations, your liberation. There is no middle ground, and your very first actions decide which direction you're heading. Are you feeding weakness, or are you feeding willpower? Are you repeating yesterday's patterns, or are you creating something new? You can't lie to your body, your body. It knows. You start your day by choosing it. You're telling it the truth. And you're not here to repeat it. You are here to make it. Your nervous system thrives on rhythm. When you establish a pattern of movement, your brain becomes trained to become it. Your emotions stabilize. Your decisions improve. You no longer feel like you're pushing mud. You feel like you're flowing with purpose. It doesn't matter how long it lasts. What matters is that it happens, that you begin, that you choose to shift from passive to active, from stuck to stirring, from foggy to focus, because that shift is everything. It turns into everything. It turns fatigue into fire to you. It turns fatigue into fire. It turns hesitation into hunger. This isn't about being athletic. It's about being alive, fully consciously alive. So many people are awake but not alive. They walk through the day with energy trapped in their bodies, stress buried in their shoulders, potential locked inside muscles that haven't moved in days. Don't be one of them. Let your body remember what it means to lead. Let your system feel the difference between merely existing and fully engaged. When you move, you shake off the old version, the heavy one, the tired one, the tired one. You step in a version of you that's ready, not just to start the day, but to shape it. Okay, but to shape it. You cannot access the highest levels of yourself. And it all starts with the decision to rise differently, to stop crawling into the day and start charging into it. Because if you want a different outcome, you need a different energy, and that energy doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's summoned by you through action, through reaction, through repetition, through the consent, courageous choice to move in the direction of your goals, even when your feelings haven't caught up yet. Let your body be the first proof that today is different. Let your movement say what your mind might be afraid to believe. I am done living small. I am done shrinking in the shadows. I am done betraying my own potential. You don't need anyone to tell you you're capable. You just need to act like it before you feel it. Because action creates belief, and belief unlocks everything. And if you want the world to feel your presence, it starts with you feeling it first, in your breath, in your stance, in your movement. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. When your mornings are chaotic, your life becomes reactive. You spend the rest of your day catching up, scrambling for clarity, trying to remember who you are and what you're supposed to be building. But when your morning begins with intention, your entire identity shifts. You don't wake up searching for purpose, you wake up with it. You walk into the day already rooted in who you are and what you're committed to becoming. That power doesn't come from luck, it comes from ritual, not routine. Ritual, there's a difference. A routine is something you do. A ritual is something you become. It's sacred, it's symbolic. It reminds you that your time matters, your presence matters, your life matters. And that reminder needs to come before the world has a chance to convince you otherwise. A ritual isn't about perfection. It's not about doing 10 things before breakfast. It's about doing the right things consistently, mindfully, and with intention. It's the process of aligning your actions with your values, of telling your nervous system every morning, this is who I am, this is how I lead, this is how I show up no matter how I feel. It creates emotional safety. It creates mental structure. It becomes your anchor in the storm of life. And when the world is spinning, when stress rises, when things get unpredictable, your ritual grounds you. Because you've already decided what kind of energy you're bringing into the day. And when that decision is made early, everything else becomes easier. Without that foundation, your day belongs to distractions, to opinions, to pressure, to urgency that's not yours. But with ritual, you build a border around your energy. You create space to breathe, think, and remember who the hell you are before the noise starts telling you who to be. That space is everything. It's not a luxury. It's survival. Because if you don't claim your attention, someone else will. If you don't define your direction, you'll be pulled in every direction. And if you don't own your mind, your day will be owned by fear, doubt, and everything that fights against your growth. Your ritual doesn't have to be long. It just has to be yours. It just be yours. Whether it's movement, meditation, silence, breathwork, journaling, reflection, what matters is that it speaks to your future, that it reflects the person you're building, that it becomes a non-negotiable part of your. Not something you do when you have time, but something you do because it creates time. Because when your inner world is clear, you stop wasting hours chasing clarity from the outside. This is how leaders are made. Quietly, in the stillness of the morning, before anyone's watching, before anything demands your energy. It's in those moments that your character is shaped, your confidence is rebuilt, and your power is remembered because you've been powerful all along. You've just been distracted. But your morning ritual is not about adding something new. It's about returning to yourself. Returning to the truth that you are not here to react, you are here to lead. You are not here to prove, you are here to align. And alignment is everything. It makes hard days bearable. It makes pressure purposeful. It makes sacrifice feel like investment. Without alignment, everything feels heavier. Every task becomes a burden. Every challenge becomes personal. But when you start your day in alignment, you walk differently, you speak differently, you handle stress without losing yourself. Because you just wake up and hope for the best, you woke up and remembered who you are. That is the power of ritual. It doesn't give you strength. It awakens the strength that's already inside you. So creative, so creative. Shape it, defend it, not for the world, for you. Because you don't start your day on your terms, start your day on your terms, the world will write the script for you. And that script rarely leads to peace, power, or purpose. It leads to burnout. It leads to frustration. It leads to wondering why success feels so far away when it's really just on the other side of your morning choices. Stop letting your potential be buried under chaos. Stop letting the world touch your energy before you do. Rise with a rhythm that honors your future. Build a ritual that becomes your reminder. You are not here to follow you. You are here to not here to follow. You are here to lead every single day. The moment you decide that in the morning. Your morning is sacred because it's the one moment where the world is silent enough for you to actually hear yourself. Before the distractions, before the noise begins pressing in from every direction. There's a brief window where you are completely yours. That window is everything. It is the space where clarity can emerge, where peace can grow, where purpose can breathe. But the moment you pick up your phone, that silence is shattered. That sacred space is invaded. And your mind, still tender from sleep, is thrown into a battlefield that is never meant to fight so soon. You start your day not with intention, but with interruption. And what was supposed to be your ground becomes someone else's. When your phone is the first voice you hear, you give away your power before you've even stood up. You invite in comparison, urgency, fear, messages that have nothing to do with your goals or your values, and yet you absorb them unconsciously. You begin scrolling, thinking you're just catching up. But what you're really doing is losing time, losing energy, losing yourself. That quick glance becomes a mental spiral. That tiny distraction becomes a mood, and that mood shapes your entire morning. You don't even realize you're operating from someone else's agenda. You're already reacting, already behind, already disconnected from the life you actually want to live. You were never meant to wake up and serve everyone else's story before writing your own. You were never meant to start the day in a mental fog created by strangers. Your focus is currency. Your attention is a weapon. And when you give it away too early, you become too weak to fight for what matters later. That's why you feel tired. You feel tired even after sleep. That's why you feel overwhelmed before doing anything. Your brain has already been hijacked by 1,000 meaningless inputs before it's even had the chance to center itself in purpose. You have to reclaim that space, that first breath, that first thought, that first 10 minutes of stillness that belongs to no one else but you. You don't owe the world your attention the moment you wake up. You owe yourself presence. You owe yourself alignment. You owe yourself the respect of saying, I come first today. Because when you do that, when you silence the noise and turn inward, you reconnect with a power that the outside world can't touch. You remind yourself that you are not here to consume. You are here to create. And from that place, everything changes. Your thoughts become clearer. Your choices become sharper. Your energy becomes more grounded. You don't rush, you respond. You don't chase, you lead. You move through the day with a sense of sovereignty that most people never experience, simply because you made the decision to control your inputs before they controlled you. That decision builds confidence. That confidence builds momentum. And momentum is what makes transformation sustainable. If you want to win the day, you have to stop letting the world enter your mind before you do. You have to stop reaching for your phone before reaching for your purpose. You have to stop waking up and falling into distraction when you should be rising into the direction. It isn't about rules. It's about respect, self-respect. The kind that says, my attention is too valuable to waste. My mind is too important to pollute. My life is too sacred to start in chaos. That kind of respect creates a ripple that extends into every area of your life, your health, your work, your relationships. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. The decision to start your morning with presence instead of noise is not a small thing. It's the foundation of a high performance life. It's the choice that separates those who lead from those who follow, those who react from those who rise. And it's a choice you get to make every single day. No one is stopping you. Nothing holding you back except the habit of giving your mind away too soon. Habits can be reprogrammed, and your first action of the day can be reclaimed. Let your morning belong to you. Let your first thoughts be yours. Let your mind wake up to stillness, to breath, to clarity. Let your energy build before you spend it. Don't allow the world to tell you who to be. Don't let a screen define your reality before you've even stepped into it. Start with silence. Start with strength. Fight with strength. Start with the decision that you matter more than the noise, because you do. And when you finally believe that, everything in your life begins to shift, not by force, but by alignment. Not all at once, but one morning at a time. You don't need to overhaul your life to change direction. You just need to win the first few minutes. That small window, where most people scroll, delay, and drift, is your greatest opportunity. If you can claim those minutes, you can reshape your entire day. The mind is fragile at the start, open, receptive. What you give it in those early moments becomes the emotional and mental fuel that carries through everything that follows. If you fill it with noise, you'll carry noise. But if you fill it with clarity, you'll carry power. And power doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters with full intention. Even the smallest act, if done consciously, becomes transformational. Every excuse you've ever made about not having enough time, not being motivated, not knowing where to start, it all begins to collapse the moment you take control of those first moments. You no longer wait for the right time. You create it. You no longer wait for energy. You generate it. The act of rising on your own terms without chaos, without outside pressure, is the act of reclaiming your identity. You stop being someone who responds and start becoming someone who chooses. And when that choice is repeated, and when that choice is you are not a temporary habit, a permanent identity. The key is presence, to be fully where you are, to breathe into the stillness and not run from it. To sit with yourself not as a problem to be fixed, but as a force to be remembered. The more you anchor yourself in presence, the less control the world has over your mind. You begin to realize how much of your anxiety came from skipping the step, from rushing into the day with a mind not yet ready, a heart not yet steady. You've been pouring from a cup that was never full. You've been chasing clarity without pausing long enough to let it rise. Stillness doesn't mean doing nothing. It means being everything you are before you let the world fragment. It means setting your emotional tone before the demands come flooding in. It means recognizing that you are not your notifications, your calendar, your pressure, your plan. You are the one who moves through all of it. You are the source. And when you connect with that source every morning, you begin to operate from peace, not panic, from purpose, not pressure, from inner strength, not outer chaos. You spend enough mornings giving away your power, enough mornings letting your phone shape your focus. Enough mornings waking up already behind, already lost in the noise. That ends the moment you decide you've had enough. The moment you choose a new standard. Not a rigid rule, but a quiet promise. A commitment to start your day with presence, clarity, and strength. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. If you want to rise, this is where it begins. Not someday, not when things calm down, but now, now one breath at a time. One choice at a time. Most people wait for motivation to move. But motivation is not the spark, it's the result. It shows up after, not before. If you sit and wait to feel ready, you will stay stuck. You will waste days hoping to feel inspired when all you need to do is move. Take one small action, one controlled breath, one clear choice. That's where the shift begins. Because movement changes your state. The mind follows the body. When you rise with purpose, when you start your morning with action, your entire nervous system wakes up to something new. You signal to yourself that you're not waiting anymore. You are leading. It doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be consistent. The power is not in the size of the action. It's in the message it sends to your subconscious. I show up, even when I don't feel like it. Especially when I don't feel like it. That's where confidence is born. On comfort and discipline. And showing your future self that you're reliable, that you don't fold at the first sign of resistance, that you keep your word. When you start your day by keeping promises to yourself, you build the kind of trust in yourself, you build the kind of trust that no one can take from you, and that trust becomes unshakable. You can train your mind to move forward, not by force, but by rhythm. The rhythm of consistency, the rhythm of discipline, The rhythm of showing up every day for yourself, not because it's easy, but because you're worth it. That's what changes your life, not once in a while. A daily alignment, morning after morning, rising with clarity, moving with conviction, acting from identity, not impulse. You don't need to feel inspired. You need to feel committed. Because commitment will carry you when motivation disappears. Yeah. But your ritual, your choices, your actions, they won't. They will stay. They will hold the line. They will keep you moving when the rest of the world makes excuses. If you win the first battle of the day, the battle against comfort, hesitation, and delay, you set the tone for everything else. You walk into the world already victorious, not because it's easy, but because you chose to rise anyway. You chose discipline over distraction, action over avoidance, ownership over excuses. And that single choice echoes into every conversation, every decision, every challenge you face. Because you already proved to yourself that you're stronger than your comfort. You already won. And when you win the morning, you no longer fear the day. Here's the next powerful 500-word section written in pure voiceover style, maintaining the emotional momentum, focused relational tone. The moment you take control of your morning, you take control of your life, not because the morning's magic, but because you are. The morning simply reveals who's leading, your vision or your excuses. Every day begins with a decision, not just to wake up, but to wake up with to own your thoughts instead of letting them own you, to rise with clarity instead of crawling into the noise. To act like your life matters because it does, and how you treat those first waking moments tells the truth about how much you believe in that. Discipline is not punishment. It is a declaration, a quiet personal vow to no longer be the mercy of it, to no longer be ruled by feelings that fade, to rise above the cycle that may be later and step into a right now. You weren't built to hesitate. You weren't born to coast. You were created to move, to lead, to build, and you cannot build a powerful life on weak beginnings. You cannot create greatness from a place of chaos, laziness, or emotional drift. You need intention, and intention is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger you get. The more you choose discipline, the less you depend on motivation. This is where true transformation begins. Not in the middle of the day when pressure is already high, but in the calm when no one's watching. When it's just you and your choice, you and your choice. You stay the same. When you rise into the person you were meant to be, you were meant to be called. That moment holds the weight of your entire future. Because if you win it once, you can win it again. And if you keep winning it, the world around you changes. Not through force, but through alignment. You start moving like someone who knows where they're going. You speak with conviction. You work with clarity. You show up for yourself and others in a way that commands respect because it comes from self-respect. You don't need to do everything. You need to do the right thing. The thing that pulls you forward, the thing that trains your mind to lead instead of follow. The thing that shifts you from intention to action. That's where your edge lives. Not in how much you do, but in what you choose to do first. When you begin with power, you move with power. When you begin with purpose, you carry purpose. You carry purpose. When you begin with courage, you create results. You don't wait to feel ready. You wake up ready. And even if you don't feel it, you act like it. Because you trained yourself to lead. And leaders don't need permission. They just decide absolutely. Here's the next 500-word section, continuing with the same emotional intensity, psychological depth, and motivational force, written in pure voiceover style. You don't need more time, you need more direction. One leads to regret, the other leads to freedom. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be is not built with giant leaps. It's built with small, powerful wins stacked day after day. You don't need to conquer the whole day before sun. You just need to conquer your decisions in the first few minutes. Because how you start becomes how you live. The same mind that chooses stillness, chaos, action over avoidance, will carry that energy into everything it touches. When you delay action, you train your mind to hesitate. When you start strong, you train it to trust. That trust becomes confidence. That confidence becomes momentum. And momentum is the fuel that gets you through the hard days, the ones where motivation vanishes and all that's left is discipline. That's why winning the morning isn't just a habit. It's a declaration of self-respect. It says, I'm not waiting to be rescued. I'm becoming the person who's saving. You rise early not because you're trying to impress the world, but because you're focused on transforming yourself. And transformation is about perfection. Alignment. It's about choosing to act from your highest self, even when your current self wants comfort. That tension you feel in the morning, the pull between what's easy and what's right, is your opportunity. That's where growth lives. Not in doing what feels good, but in doing what makes you great. You are not here to repeat yesterday. You are here to evolve, and evolution doesn't happen when you follow your feelings. It happens when you lead them. You have power right now. Not someday. Not when life gets easier. Not when the circumstances line up. Right now, in this moment, you have everything it takes to rise. Not because life is fair. Not because the odds are perfect. But because you've decided that you are done being average. You are done being reactive. You are done being someone who waits. From this moment forward, you choose to act. You choose to align. You choose to lead yourself through the resistance and become the kind of person who wins before the world even wakes up. This is your edge. Not talent, not external motivation. Your edge is how you start, how you discipline your mind, how you control your state before the world has a chance to pull you in 10 different directions. You don't rise to your goals, you follow your patterns. So change the pattern. Start with presence. Start with movement. Start with discipline and keep showing up. Because one powerful morning doesn't just change your day, it changes your destiny. When you take full command of your morning, you silence the noise before it even begins. You train your mind to focus on what truly matters, not what the world throws at you. The first decision of the day sets the tone for the rest. You're either stepping into ownership or falling into reaction. The longer you wait to lead yourself, the easier it becomes to let the world lead you. That's how distraction takes root, not in a moment, but in a pattern. And every morning is a chance to break that pattern, to stay with your actions, not just your words, that you're not available for chaos. You're not available for excuses. You're available for growth excuses. You're available for growth, clarity, and forward movement. That's why starting with discipline matters more than starting with ease. Discipline creates structure, and structure frees to focus on what matters. Without it, you wake up and do someone else's priorities. When you build structure into your morning, you reclaim your thoughts, your path. You no longer move by chance. You move by choice. And that single shift from drifting to choosing rewrites your identity. You stop thinking of yourself as someone trying to improve and start living as someone who's improving. That identity shift is where everything begins to accelerate. Your brain craves certainty, and when you give it a clear path each morning, it starts to work for you. Starts to work for you, not against you. You reduce friction, you eliminate confusion, you wake up knowing exactly what to do, and that knowing builds speed. You don't waste energy negotiating with yourself. You don't delay the start, you just begin. And in that beginning, your confidence grows because the most powerful belief isn't that the world will change, it's that you will. And when you start proving that belief to yourself day after day, resistance starts to shrink. Not because it gets but because you get glamorous. It's not loud. But it's what makes you unstoppable. While others chase hype and wait for the perfect day, you build quiet victories in the early hours. And those victories compound. They strengthen your character. They raise your standards. Um, they shift how you see yourself, how you show up, and how others respond to you. Not because you shouted your goals, but because you lived them, you became them. And that transformation starts when you stop waiting, you start owning your first hour. Not one. Not sometimes, every single day, until it's not just what you do, it's who you are. The moment you decide that your first hour matters more than your first distraction, everything begins to shift. You no longer wake up reacting, you wake up creating. You create energy. You create intention, you create the future in real time by honoring the present. They think greatness is found in giant actions, but it lives in the small, consistent decisions that no one sees. What you do when it's quiet, when there's no applause, when there's no applause, when it's just you and your thoughts. That's what shapes you. That's where discipline is born. And that's where strength is built. Quietly, relentlessly, repeatedly. You don't rise by accident. You rise by design. Design starts with clarity. When your mind knows what matters, it stops chasing what doesn't. You don't scroll, you don't scroll, you stalk. You engage, you move with power, not panic. This is how you build inner leadership. You stop looking outside for direction, and you find it in yourself. You find it in the rituals you refuse to break. You find it in the promises you keep, especially when no one is watching. You become solid, focused, grounded. Not because the world makes it easy, but because you refuse to be shaken by it anymore. The chaos of the world will always try to pull you back into distraction, but you are no longer available for that light. You are no longer at the mercy of your moods, or your environment, or your excuses. You've taken back control, and that control begins the moment you open your eyes. You don't wait to feel ready. You decide you're ready. You don't hope for motivation. You generate momentum. That's what separates the few who grow from the many who stay stuck. Not talent, not luck. Just the courage to choose differently at the start of the day. Every decision compounds. Every time you begin with clarity, you reinforce the identity of someone who is disciplined, someone who is serious, someone who is ready. Someone who is ready. You no longer entertain the voice that says it later. You replace it with action. You lead with energy, not excuses. And that energy becomes your edge in every area of life. Not because mornings are easy, but because they are yours. That space, that silence, that first hour, it's where you take your power. It's where you build the version of you the world has not yet seen. Not with force, but with focus. Not with pressure, but with presence. You don't need permission to step into your potential. You just need to show up fully, fiercely, and without apology. Day after day, moment by moment. Until your morning isn't just a routine, it's your foundation, your launch pad, your silent victory before the world even opens its eyes. The person you become is hidden in the habits you repeat. And your morning's a mirror that reflects whether you're living by intention or by impulse. Every time you rise with clarity and purpose, you're casting a vote for the identity you're building. And every time you hit pause on your progress, even for a moment of comfort, even for a moment of comfort, you can hit a strength that's waiting to be claimed. There is only discipline. There isn't any discipline. There's shortcut. There is only showing up. Not when it's easy. Not when it's convenient. But especially when it's hard. Especially when it's quiet. Especially when no one's cheering. You can't fake consistency. You either do the work or you don't. And the work begins the moment you hit the floor. Not with noise, but with direction. Not with rush, but with focus. That's how you lead yourself out of the mental clutter that used to control your morning. You stop looking for the perfect route, start owning your attention. You anchor yourself in purpose. Because when your purpose is clear, your actions stop being random, they become deliberate. And deliberate action is what separates dreamers from doers. You weren't meant to stay trapped in hesitation. You were built to lead yourself relentlessly, courageously, fully. Most people never rise because they never decide. They wait for life to slow down. They wait for motivation to arrive. But life doesn't slow down. Motivation doesn't last. The only thing that endures is commitment. Commitment to showing up again. Commitment to your process. Commitment to the version of you that lives on the other side of resistance. You don't find that version by chance. You find them in the repetition of powerful choices made in silence. Over time, without applause, without permission. Just you versus you. That's what winning in the morning really means. Also, not perfection, not performance, just ownership. It's not about doing 100 things. It's about doing a few things with absolute presence. It's about breathing before the day breathes on you, moving before life moves you, choosing intention before reaction, and protecting that first hour like your future depends on it. Because it does. Every powerful life is built on an invisible structure of discipline. And that structure is laid one decision at a time, not time, not someday. In this moment, in this choice. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be consistent. You need to be clear. You need to stop telling yourself the story of who you were and start writing the truth of who you're becoming. That truth starts when the alarm goes off, and your alarm goes off, and you don't roll over your eyes. You commit. You lead. And in doing so, you remind yourself that the life you want is not waiting. It's already within you. All you have to do is rise and claim it. Every morning, without hesitation, without delay, without excuse. You were never meant to start your day in survival mode. You were never meant to wake up and instantly give your mind away to distractions, doubts, or demands. You were meant to rise with intention, to open your eyes and claim your power before the world pulls at it. This isn't just about creating a better morning. It's about reclaiming your identity. Every morning you begin with discipline. You remind yourself that you are not at the mercy of yesterday's habits. You are the author of your life, and the first sentence you write is how you wake up and choose to live today. There's a moment between the silence of sleep and the noise of the world. That moment is sacred. That moment is yours. And what you choose to do with it determines whether you start your day grounded or scattered, empowered, or scattered, empowered, or depleted, focused, or lost. Most people waste that moment. They grab their phone, they scroll, they react. And by the time they've gotten out of bed, they've already lost their center. But you are not most people. You've come too far to let your future be shaped by old patterns. You know that the strength you need doesn't come from comfort. It comes from discipline. Discipline isn't about force. It's about freedom. It's about choosing to take back the wheel instead of being driven by impulse. It's about building mental clarity in a world addicted to chaos. You don't get clarity from more information. You get it from stillness. You get it from intention. You get it from protecting your energy like your life depends on, because it does. When you own your morning, you own your state. And when you own your state, you stop being reactive and start becoming unstoppable. There will always be noise trying to distract you. There will always be voices telling you to rest when you need to rest when you need to rise. But every time you choose to begin your day with strength, you are training your mind to trust you. You're proving that you are no longer willing to negotiate with weakness. You're done allowing emotions to set the tone. You set the tone, you define the rhythm, you choose the standard not once, but every single morning, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. This is how change is built. One clear, focused, relentless morning at a time. Not with intensity that burns out, but with consistency that builds fire. That fire becomes your identity. Not someone who gets by, but someone who shows up. Someone who leads themselves. Someone who walks with purpose, speaks with clarity, and lives with power. And lives with power. This version of you is unreached to search for them. You need to wake them. And you do that by owning the first hour of your day. Not perfectly, but intentionally. Because how you begin is how you become. And you were born to become something extraordinary, one disciplined morning at a time. The first victory of your driven ladder doesn't need applause. It doesn't need attention. It just needs you. It's that quiet decision you make before the world opens its eyes. The choice to rise with purpose instead of drifting in comfort. That moment, those small holds the weight of everything you're becoming. Because when you win that moment, you win yourself. And when you win yourself, there's nothing you can't face. You stop chasing motivation and start living with momentum. You stop depending on how you feel and start relying on what you feel. That is how transformation begins, not in the chaos, but in the calm discipline of early decisions. Most people spend their mornings reacting. They wake up already behind, already overwhelmed, already distracted. They pour their energy into things that drain them, and by the time it matters most, there's nothing left to give. But you don't have to live that way. You don't have to begin your day on defense. You can start an offense. You can step into the morning with a clear direction, a strong mind, and a steady soul. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. It happens by design. And you are the architect. You don't need to feel ready. You need to act with conviction. You need to build a rhythm so strong that doubt can't interrupt. Because the truth is, you're not waiting on the right time. You're waiting on the right mindset. And that mindset is built through action. Not once, not when it's easy, but repeatedly, unshakably, especially in the moments where everything in you wants to delay, avoid, or escape. Those moments are your training ground. That's where real growth begins. When you own your morning, you begin to trust yourself again. You start proving to your mind that you follow through, that you don't run when things get followed, that you don't fold and no one's watching, that your word matters even when it's only heard by you. That kind of integrity rewires how you think, how you feel, and how you move through the world. You stop waiting to become someone new. You realize you're already becoming them. Every time you keep your promise to rise and lead yourself first. You've tried doing it the easy way. You've tried waiting for inspiration. But nothing changes until you decide to own the parts of your life that feel ordinary and make them sacred. That's what the morning is. It's not routine. It's ritual. It's not just another task. It's your foundation. Build it strong. Build it with presence. Build it with the intensity of someone who knows they were made for more, because you are. And the proof is not in your plans. It's in your practice. It's in how you begin. It's in what you choose before the world chooses for you. Own that moment, and you'll own the day. Own the day, and you'll own your life.